get this live stream going on YouTube so that I can actually see the comments as we go along. There we go. Let me mute me on that end so that we can talk about some things. What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday to you. Excuse my eyes. Oh my gosh. Like, this has been such a bad allergy week. I don't know if there's just another cold virus going around or what, but my eyes, my nose, everything has been wailing. And the temperature has changed a bit in the Midwest. Again, we're cold again, colder. So you know how it is, just going through the motions of the seasons, I guess. But anyways, you guys, we're just catching up on my news feeds, and obviously the world is still crazy. Let me check. Yeah, the world is still crazy. A lot of interesting things going on, a lot of interesting discussions. And, it's interesting. I always like to remind people of the difference between politics and policy, right? Politics versus policy. A lot of times when these individuals are getting your attention, campaigning for something, right? They are politicking to you, not necessarily so much focus on policy execution, how they're going to do it. You very rarely see even the media pundits challenging these people on how they're going to do something. We saw that more this election cycle as you had Kamala Harris and Donald Trump both facing, pretty tight scrutiny because I don't think really the establishment wanted either one of them, right? But the scrutiny of how are you going to do what you say that you were going to do and the specifics, it's not really ever put on a table. The fervor, the politics of it is always what's going to be put on the table. So, for example, a campaign that focuses on racism and social justice, right? They are distracting you with that bullshit, so that they don't have to talk about the things that they are really going to be in there doing, right? And that's just how politics is, right? I think reasonable people, we have accepted that politics is a big clown show, right? And these people are just telling people what they want to hear. And they're not really breaking down, how some of the things that they want to hear just don't make no damn sense, right? So on the Republican campaign trail this closing cycle, the reoccurring slogan for the Republicans was drill, baby, drill, right? It almost reminds me of that one song. I don't know who sings it. Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. Burn, baby. I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. When I hear drill, baby, drill, I'm like, maybe he's saying burn, baby, burn, really. Maybe this is the inferno of the American economy that people don't really see coming. And I'm kind of one of those reasonable people. I'm not just locked into my country. I'm locked into what is happening around the world and what is happening, the moves of other countries, other nations, right? How does it impact my own, right? How does America play into a nationalist economy? And how does America play into a globalist economy? Now, I think that as much as people cry and they are like, oh, we got to avoid globalism, it's like you can't avoid something that you've been in, right? America has been part of the globalist machine for quite some time. And when you have intertwined your economy in the global machine for quite some time, you're not really producing like you could be producing. And you're talking about the duration of time that America has not really been producing like that because we've been, beholden to, we want China's business and we want to produce things. We want to produce things cheaper. So as opposed to leveraging our own human capital, which we perceive to cost more, right? We're going to leverage partnerships with other nations who have a lot of human capital, right? Who can produce, mass produce the things that we want for very cheap, right? So we have been in this global economy for a while. We can thank NAFTA for that, for really expediting the U.S. involvement and being deeply embedded with this globalist type of economy. So I say that to say a lot of people are now coming on a mic and they're kind of challenging Trump's drill, baby, drill. And if you look at my live stream I did a couple of days ago, I was going through a video of a gentleman. I think his name was Shahid Bolson, right? And he was just kind of breaking down some things about this whole mindset of, Trump and his mindset on drilling more and trying to get the U.S. to be a global oil competitor. And he made some good points. And it's like, now that you see, sort of Trump's plan in execution, it's kind of like this guy was like reading the room quite well because, a lot of the things that he said that Trump's going to end up doing or having to do in that video, it seems to be what Trump is doing. So when this guy says that, Trump, is going to trying to convince the U.S. oil industry to drill more, even though a lot of them financially are not in a position to do that, right? And all the while, he's going to tell OPEC to drill more and lower the oil price, right? And this guy made a point of saying that OPEC is not going to have an interest in doing that because they're trying to balance their budget too, right? So they're not going to lower the cost of oil. In fact, as I saw one reporter say, they can't afford 45 a barrel. They need it at least 90 at this point to balance their budget and be able to move forward with projects that they have planned for their own nation. So it's like I have to imagine, because everybody's always bragging about what an awesome businessman that Trump is. I have to imagine that he was having these conversations, with OPEC, trying to strategize what any type of, increase in production would be for them, because they're sitting on surplus. They don't have to produce. We're the ones that got to produce. They don't. And so it's like, I wonder, did he have any type of discussions with these OPEC nations before he just started going out saying shit that people wanted to hear? Because it seems like, to me, this oil thing or this oil idea that he has is not going to be able to pan out for the U.S. long term. We're definitely going to deal with a lot of short term issues, I believe, and I totally believe too that what people perceive to be short-term issues will actually end up being longer-term issues for the United States with the way that Trump is planning to execute things at the moment. Maybe he has a trick up his sleeve. We don't know, right? But I do believe that a lot of people have been sold some old fervor. And I don't think that the people who have been sold the fervor are really economically intelligent enough. I know that probably hurts them coming from a Black woman, but you probably aren't, to understand what all of this really means. But so far, it doesn't seem like the OPEC nations are really interested in biting the bait on Trump's oil plans. And like the guy said, if you want to drill, baby, drill, go ahead and do that. But we're not going to manipulate oil prices. And, he mentioned this in 2020. He believed, now I can't say Trump had anything to do with that, but he believed that there was a coordination to saturate the oil market in 2020. And he believes that Donald Trump was a part of that coordination. Can't say that for sure. I don't I don't understand what the interest would be, but again, people make alliances with who they make alliances with. Speaking of the Eastern kings of the world, right? We exist with the Western kings. But let's talk about the Eastern kings for a second, because China is a big conversation right now again. And it seems as though they have gotten, like, I think China and Russia have gotten 9 new BRICS nations, right? What did he say? 9 new BRICS countries, right? And I guess China is playing the investment card in other nations, right? And I've said this before, and I've said this again. You can buy a friendship like they do in the West. They just sling money around, and they don't have any real trust amongst their peers or the people that they're dealing with. They're just slinging money around, enticing people with money. At least the leaders in the East, and they have to get their flowers for this, they're out here negotiating with each other. They're out here really saying, okay, this is what our common interest is. This is what I bring to the table. This is how we can leverage, these resources. And this is what you see coming together with the BRICS nations, right? A lot of these nations are not warring with each other. They're not glory whoring with each other. They're really coming together for a common purpose, which is to really crush us economically, right? You got to respect the coordination of people because they have a common interest, and you don't really see them beefing with each other like Western power nations because they're glory whores. So, anyways, they're putting in mass investments, China, into these other nations. I hear Thailand is now called the Detroit of Asia. I don't even know how I feel about that. Being a Metro Detroiter, they're calling Thailand the Detroit of Asia. The U.S. is falling off when our key cities, Motor City, right? We're losing our clout to Asia. We've been lost there, but damn, it sucks. China's out here creating jobs in Africa. I think they had like a $50 billion investment into African nations, and they even are looking to invest more. What's up, Ghetto Planet? I see you. So China is out here making friends, building strategic alliances, right? I don't know what the hell the United States is out here doing. And you can't sit up there and act like the United States. And I think a lot of people who are just on this oil stuff, like these old, uneducated people who are not necessarily in the oil business and understand how the economic cycles work around oil, right? They have an old mindset that if you drill more, if you produce more, oil is a natural resource, right? So if the United States drills more, then we would compete. But it's like, there are other nations that have already tapped into that resource. They have that resource ready, set, go on demand. And we just don't have that. And so I think the rhetoric, like I said, it doesn't really match the politics and the policy that actually needs to come down the pipeline in order for these pipe dreams to come into fruition. So we should see where drill, baby, drill leads us. Like, will it make us burn, baby, burn like the Disco Inferno? I don't know. But anyways, Irv Gotti, hip hop producer, dead at 54 years old. When I heard about this, when I got more information about Irv Gotti's death, it is unfortunate, but there are so many Irv Gottis. My biological mom, we lost her in 2022. She was an Irv Gotti, and these are, people of color, Black people. My mom, she's foundational Black American. She got diabetes, and it is insane to see somebody, self sabotage, with a condition like that, right? I heard Irv Gotti say in an interview, somebody asked him, was diabetes hard to manage? He was like, oh, yeah, I mean, he was like, you take insulin. He was like, oh, only when my sugar get high. But that's not really the insulin regimen that diabetics should be taking, right? They should be regulating their sugar every day, being conscious of managing it. What my biological mom would do is exactly what I suspect Irv Gotti did, was they eat whatever they wanted to. Like Irv said, don't tell me what to eat. I'm grown. Don't like, cause he did an interview, Hip Hop Uncensored, posted it yesterday, where Irv Gotti is saying, yeah, my kids, they telling me I shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that. He was like, I want to live, right? I want to live. And that's the same. And when I heard him say that, it was like listening to my mom all over again. They don't want you to tell them anything, right? They don't want you to make them conscious that their behaviors, their poor healthcare management is ultimately going to take that opportunity to live away from them sooner rather than later. So she would do the same thing where she would just eat for weeks, for weeks, for weeks. She'd just be eating just whatever she wanted. And then when her body started like rejecting that, it started like making her sick or whatnot, then all of a sudden she would be sick for like a week or so, right? Until her sugar kind of got some type of balance, right? And so it's just an endless cycle with some of these people where they don't want you to make them. And I mean, I remember she had healthcare managers come to the house. She wouldn't even open the door for these people, right? These people were trying to do their job and make her conscious of her behaviors, and she's getting offended. Like, I'm a grown adult. And it's like people like that almost are like children, right? Where you can tell them what is right, but it's not, they don't have a lot of consciousness about it until they actually get hurt, until their bodies start, getting to the point where they're in these like diabetic type comas. And so Irv was 54. My mom was 56 when she passed on. And it's just really unfortunate. And a lot of times, you got things like diabetes, they can be reversed. But when you listen to some of these people, you know, they don't want to alter their lifestyles. That's what it is. They're like, I'm going to eat whatever I want to, and I'm going to enjoy life. And then and then when it's time to really enjoy life, right, beyond food, like Irv Gotti's daughter, I believe I saw a report, she's getting married soon, where her father can't be there to enjoy that aspect of life because he wanted to live his life the way he wanted to. Just like when my daughter, she graduated in 2023, right? My mom died in 2022. She was not able to see that part of her experience. That joyful moment in life, she wasn't there to see it because she wanted to live life the way that she wanted to live and not take care of herself. And so, I pray for everybody who have these types of conditions. I know it's hard to break bad habits. We are, our vices, we are guilty of our own decisions, but I do pray that people become more conscious, try to break the habits that, ultimately will cause you long-term devastation. And they don't do enough diabetes awareness in the Black community, especially because they know we love food, but they know that the combination of our foods is killer to us, especially if we're eating them in portions that many of us eat them in. With minimum exercise to kind of burn off some of that sugar. So, Black people, this diabetes is something that does not have to plague our community. We just need to get away from a lot of this sugar and processed foods and really make an effort to be more conscious of our physical health. Physical health is really the ingredients to having good mental health. You have the energy to do the things that you want to do. And so I encourage everybody, whether you're from my tribe or whatever tribe, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. We do so much during the day, the week. It's like, make time to take care of yourself. I pray for Irv Gotti's family, right? It is devastating losing integral people in your family. And I'm pretty sure he was a huge, major, integral part of his family. I'm not going to say he was a perfect man. None of us are perfect. I've followed him throughout his career. I've seen the fall, of Murder Inc. I used to follow Murder Inc., Charlie Baltimore, Ashanti. I mean, he brought up some really good artists, and he gave the hip hop space some really good artists. And I'm always going to give people flowers for actually bringing us organic artists, whether the music industry appreciated their artists or not. He did have some decent artists because Ja Rule was a decent artist. How lame you think he is, that's subjective, but he was a good artist. I like some Ja Rule music. I'll still bang some Ja Rule and Ashanti. But anyways, where are we going next with this? I didn't have a whole lot on my deep fakes, AI generated, right? So I was looking at this report and it says in 2023, AI generated content increased fraud loss by $12 billion. $12 billion, right? AI generated content increased fraud loss. So, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about ByteDance's, the Chinese company's new omni-human technology, where essentially their technology can appear exactly like I'm appearing now. I'm not AI. I'm not AI. I'm going to have to come up with some non-predictive markers to always prove that I'm not AI. But they've come out with an AI technology that is probably one of the most believable on the market. They can take a lot of, I think what they've done is because this is from the same company that it owns TikTok, ByteDance, right? You can take a whole bunch of human movements, human behaviors, facial expressions, right? You can emulate those just by using the TikTok data that all of those users, have produced. So theoretically, ByteDance didn't really have to do a whole lot because they're literally like, we're doing real time human emulation and we're just going to build libraries probably based off of all of these characteristic gestures and emotions of these people on TikTok. So I can imagine having a library, let's just say men suck, right? And then you take all of those reoccurring things of men suck videos on TikTok, and you can generate a believable image of a person, talking like this, right? So, for example, you could take a feminist, a very reputable feminist, for example, right? Get all of her biometrics in these videos, right? And then ByteDance's technology can actually say, have a video of this renowned feminist saying, I actually love men. I actually dream about getting married and having children and settling down and having a balance in life that gives me more meaning, right? They can actually get a renowned feminist to say this on this technology, and she probably didn't even say the shit. So this AI technology is getting more and more advanced. I think that a reasonable person would question the purpose of such AI advancement. And again, I think all of this is leading us into the era of the Antichrist, the mark of the wild beast, where people are not going to be able to buy or sell without having some level of fealty, almost like these Romans, right? We are Rome 2.0, but I think that this is on a global scale, that you're going to have a fealty for some type of entity that is going to be brought forth to humanity in the next couple of years, actually, right? We're going into 2030. So they need if we're going to, Agenda 2030 to me if they're going to kind of be successful, they will need to have the rise of that individual that everybody loves within the next couple of years. So I think it's going to be some interesting things going on. Shout out to Shattered Paradise. They just dropped another video and they're talking about Lilith, right? And my daughter asked me about Lilith and she goes, is Lilith in the Bible? And apparently Lilith is mentioned in the Bible, but not necessarily as this folklore, Jewish folklore image that we're given. Lilith is actually depicted as an evil spirit. And when you think about the women who actually cleave on to the spirit of Lilith, right? That is what their essence is. They're usually evil, wicked-hearted women at their core. Feminism is a feminine form of demonism, just like chauvinism is a male form of male demonism. So regardless, all of these isms are demonic, right? And you don't really see a lot of people who hold fast to any ism ideology. They're usually the shittiest people in society. They're unhinged. They're very emotional. They're not very logical because they got that little demon attached to their ass. So stay away from them folks. You said Lilith was not Adam's first wife. That is some folklore stuff. And you got to understand, these people, some of these people, they weren't necessarily believers. They heard the stories. Some of these people like to reimagine stories. But Lilith is a demon. And anybody who wants to worship a folklore demon, that's all on you. But she's not part of the Hebrew scriptures like that. She's not significant in the Bible. And like I said, even in the Bible, where you're talking about in that book of Isaiah, chapter 34, it's talking about a demon in the wilderness, right? So these are wild women, right, who are just lost in their anger towards men a lot of the time. So look up some of these post Kamala Harris lost videos of some of these feminists, and they'll talk about, oh yes, I'm summoning the Lilith spirit, right? Lilith spirit, right? Yeah, stay away from bitches like that. You might want to just save your soul and your peace, maybe. You said Jezebel spirit. I have no doubt that Jezebel was encompassed by some evil spirit. I mean, look at how she was. That was the worst, one of the worst feminists in history. Was Jezebel. She literally caused, nations to war, and she killed people. She was horrible, horrible woman. I saw one where they have an AI video for video calling. All you need is a microphone, and a video will characterize you sitting present for the call while you're walking, while you walk off and talk. I mean, the technology is amazing, and I'm not going to say that some of it doesn't have any usefulness, but I don't really see AI really. I see AI actually destroying nations. I see AI possibly being leveraged to cause conflicts among nations or to take down people that they don't want to be in front of the public, right? Like they'll use AI, and if you were somebody who say, I'm a godly person, I'm trying to do things right, blah, 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 right? They'll put your face on some porn activity, right? And have a whole narrative going on that you have to fight against, right? And that's ultimately where I see AI really being leveraged, is we can use these technologies to shame people. We can use these technologies to embarrass people, take people down, bribe people, all kinds of different things, And that's why I always tell people, stand on who you are, be consistent, because you got a lot of people and things out here who are trying to emulate you. And there's a lot of these technologies and even people who are just straight emulating raw organic people or content, right? So I can see the age of intellectual property being disrespected, copyright infringement, trademark infringement. I really do see a lot of this stuff creating storms like that. So it's a very disruptive technology, to say the least, if there's not enough regulation around it. And I do believe, I'm not a regulation junkie, but when it comes to I think we need to regulate the hell out of it. It needs to be regulated like deeply. Like we need to just put no limits. That is one thing, like the financial sector, that needs to be regulated the hell out of. But that's just me. That's just me. But anyways, what else was on my radar? Yeah, check out, yeah, that yeah, check out, the AI generated stuff going on. I think it's a risk. It's a risk. It's a risk. Um, you know, on Sabbath, and I didn't do a video. Sometimes I just like, if I feel like it's gonna be work to do a video on Sabbath, I won't do it. Like I have to be really like, this is what I want to do. This is a peace, calming time. I try to add some Bible flair into my Sabbath discussion so that it's not all about worldly things that are happening. But I was reading Revelation and I read the entire book this weekend. And people talk about Revelation as if it's such a doom and gloom book. But I actually love the book of Revelation. I think it's very informative. I definitely think that the prophecies of John and telling us how it all ends is to me it's important, right? Because some people, they argue like, oh God, like how long is all this gonna last? And I always remind people of that statue in Daniel's prophecy, right? You had Rome, and then you had all these scattered nation, crumble, weaker empires than even Rome rise up after Rome falls. And haven't we seen that, right? These fragmented nations cycling out power. There's no real world dominance. It's like a real collaborative dominance at best, right? But and then Jesus, obviously, he died during the Roman rulership or the Roman Empire. So, like, we're just really we're at the feet, right? We're below that stuff, right? And I don't think people realize that Daniel's prophecy was literally the timeline of mankind. And again, John reiterated that timeline when he was given the vision of the end. And so when people read Brother John's Revelation, they automatically like, this is scary. This is this. And when you put it into perspective, right, it's really not scary. It's really not scary if you are a person of faith. You're in covenant, right, with the true God of Abraham, right? You're not scared about these prophecies or these revelations. You just sit back and see them play out. And they are playing out a lot these days, right? And it's interesting because, we keep talking about, the Bible talks about the kings of the East, right? And it talks about Gog and Magog, right? And a lot of people are looking at those prophecies as being past, right? But there's so many mockeries of the scriptures going on and playing out, right? That a lot of these prophecies are just repeating themselves, right? So am I surprised that Eastern powers and nations are rising and coordinating? No, not at all. Because it talks about the power given to the kings of the East in the end, right? And I think if you thoroughly start reading these scriptures and putting the prophecies in both past and present context and start really looking at how this world is playing out, these are living prophecies. We are living the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, and a lot of people are not even aware of that. And how unfortunate that they have their hopes and dreams vested in fleshly men who will die. But anyways, you guys, Let me get to the comments and then I am going to get off of here. Okay, what's going on, Ghetto Planet? Sumperman, I see you. Richard, hello, hello, hello. And anybody else who chimed in, BBC69, I see you. All right, but thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think about this. I think, like, when I look at things from a social, political, and spiritual perspective, right? And so, this is not going to be that content that really tells you what you want to hear. It's honestly the content that's telling you what you need to hear, because just like in the days of Noah, just put it in context, it only took Noah 7 years to build the ark, but he had 120 years to actually prophesy to the people on earth that the imminent destruction, the great flood, aka what people want to consider the ice age. The ice age killed the dinosaurs. First of all, those were Nephilim. Dinosaurs are wicked. Once I learned that, I got rid of anything that's dinosaur. Like, I don't want dinosaurs, any type of stuff. I'm not going to no dinosaur museum again, because I don't want to have to pay. I'm not paying homage to the offsprings or the bones of the watchers and those wicked things that they were doing on the earth. But dinosaurs were real. They were real. They were real. And they were a part of the prehistoric or days of Noah times, right? And so, even down to dragons, those were actually real as well. And I think China would be able to co sign that very well for us. And I think that Japan would be able to possibly even co sign that for us, because I think a lot of those dragon fossils were found in China. We got the little bastard bullshit, animals, the ones where, if they slept with a giraffe, like, and they have like long necks and stuff, we got them little ones, right? But I do believe that China can put up some dragon fossils for us. But anyways, you guys, but this stuff all kind of correlates again. And like I said, to that point, Noah, it only took him 7 years to build the ark, right? But what was he doing during the other years? He was prophesying with Methuselah, right? His grandfather. He was prophesying with his grandfather about the imminent destruction that was going to befall the entire earth, right? And so I think that if you're a true believer, your job is just to raise awareness, of what is happening, the things seen and unseen. And if people want to believe you, they can believe you. They can do their own research, dig into their own, understanding. And if they don't want to believe you, then there's nothing you can do about that, right? I'm not really in this to make people believers at this point. I'm really not. I pray to God about that all the time. And I pray that my Jonah spirit of just doing what I do is enough, right? But I really can't stand most humans on this earth. I think they're disgusting creatures. And I do think it's time for a great reset upon the earth. And I think a lot of people, they don't like conversations like this because they're attached to this wicked system of things like Lot's wife. And I'm going to call those so-called believers, you got the spirit of Lot's wife. Your prosperity doctrines have convinced you, your Nicolaitans, your Balaam doctrines have convinced you that you don't want Satan's system things to end. And that's why when we start getting those bowls of judgment, right? The hearts of many is going to be cold towards the God of Abraham. They're going to be cursing him because Satan will have set them up so awesome that they're not going to want to see any of this stuff be destroyed. And I think that, people are going to start seeing that more and more these days. as the orders of things start not focused on the poor people. They've already short squeezed us enough. They're focused on the people with actual wealth because, again, they want global wealth concentrated. And so don't think because you got, $2-3 million that you're safe. Matter of fact, you're the new poor people. You are the new poor people, unfortunately. You said comfort and complacency keeps people docile, right? What did Otis Huxley say? We amuse ourselves to death. That is basically the information distraction economy that has taken over the world. They're amusing themselves to death. They don't even see their destruction in their face. But anyways, yeah, check out that scripture where Revelation 16:12, right? Revelation 16:12, right? Because just as God put it in the hearts of Gog from the land of Magog to move on the ancient Israelites, John tells us that in Revelation 16:12, he said, the Euphrates River will be dried up. The Euphrates rivers will, this is a prophecy of John, that the Euphrates will be dried up in those times, or our times, and that the east might be prepared, right? And so, again, just as though the God of Abraham put it into the hearts and minds of God from the land of Magog to coordinate with other nations against the ancient nation of Israel, so will be in our times that God will put it into the hearts of the kings of the east to also carry out his purpose and his will. And I do see a lot of that coming into fruition, as the West is not looking very good these days, leadership wise and otherwise. So read your Bible, guys. Read your Bibles, because there's a lot. Revelation 19:19, the kings of the earth will make war with Messiah and his angels. So now we're talking about, what could John possibly mean? Well, obviously, they're going to make people believe that angels and demons are extraterrestrials, right? So when the kings or the governments of the earth are waging wars in the skies, right, we're going to believe that they are waging war with an extraterrestrial. And that's not going to be the case. So they're setting up all kinds of things to manipulate people who may even be believers. And Project Blue Beamers, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know, you got to go back to the scriptures to understand how Satan is using these technologies to manipulate, but also to bring into fruition a lot of these prophecies, right? Because when we're talking about the Antichrist, right, and they're talking about he can perform miracles and signs and manipulations, these are deceptions, right? If I have a program like CERN on my side, of course I can make myself appear to be more powerful as a fleshly person than I really am. So one thing to mention about this era of the Antichrist is that there's going to be a lot of deception, a lot of things projected to the eye that correlates with the faith. And true believers, those with real wisdom, are going to be able to, you're going to be able to have to see beyond a lot of these miracles in the sky and these signs of the skies, because they're not from our Lord. But you said, I feel like AI will also open portal to bring them into the physical. Well, I do believe that these individuals from like CERN, their mission, they're trying to materialize their demons, and I do believe that they have done that. I do believe that from the computer standpoint, technology, information, I do believe that they've already been able to do that. CERN gave us the internet for a reason, because they wanted to be able to mass manipulate people giving under the guise of giving them access to information. And in a sense, it was almost like a test, with all of this information that humans could possibly have access to, which information would they really access? And unfortunately, you can kind of see how things have played out over the decades. Information is not really a concern to a lot of people. It's being distracted with something. It's like, you know, a cat with some yarn and stuff. That's kind of what the internet is for a lot of people. They're not really going out and seeking information, and the people who are going out and leveraging the information available, they're being censored because now they're able to connect dots that some of them folks are not wanting people to connect. So, you know, you can call it conspiracy theory if you want to, but I think if you get to the heart of the purpose of a lot of these so-called scientific, organizations or group, you're going to see Satanism, you're going to see demonism, infused in it for reasons, because these people have to practice some form of divination and in incantation to even be able to summon these demonic forces. Again, they want to call them aliens, right? We're going to call them for what they are. They are falling angels that have been damned to this earth with the very creatures that they don't like, humans, right? And they've been fucking up shit for quite some while. You think about the Sumerian culture, right? They weren't technologically advanced, right? They were just tapping into demons. The ancient Sumerians, they were polytheistic people. So obvious, when you think about all these ancient gods, you kind of got to translate them into what they really are. They're fallen angels. And so they're going to create a story around their God. But at the end of the day, their angels are still falling some kind of way. The truth is always there some kind of way, if you understand. But they weren't super duper advanced. Just like when America popped off, we weren't super duper advanced. We just brought our best alchemists and Satanists along, called Masons, to build to start instructing slaves how to build this nation. So, new portals to bring the interdimensional beings into our reality. And the thing is, the fallen angels are not really they can't really control human beings, and I think that's where the lie of a lot of these demons. They can get inside your head, they can manipulate your decision making, but they cannot control you. They can control inorganic things, right? Artificial intelligent things, right? Things that can be fed information and outputted information. They can be infused with things like that, right? And I think that's ultimately what we're seeing by way of algorithms and everything. To put it in good perspective, and like I said, I don't encourage people to look at like weird shit, but there was a show, I believe it was on Showtime, called American Gods. And the whole premise of American Gods is that you have these old gods who were fighting against newer gods. And these newer gods, they were the gods of innovation, the gods of technology. And these gods were taking over the attention of people where they weren't really worshiping, or they didn't have faith in their old gods like they used to. So it's like, I don't know anybody who worships Odin, right? I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of Masonic group somewhere on the ground who are worshiping that, but I don't know nobody that worship Odin or Osiris, right? And even the people, like even with the Lilith, with these feminist chicks, they ain't really devout to these demons like that either. Like they're more in love with the notion of them and their own rebellion, but these people don't really believe, right? They just doing shit. I know that show, Worship and Faith, the Lifeblood. Yeah. So yeah, American Gods. But I thought it was like, to me, the bigger thing that I felt like Satan was trying to at least convey to us in that show is that there is a war of old gods and new gods, And the gods that are winning right now are the gods of technology, meaning that and this show actually showed them infusing themselves in the technology, right? And it's like, to me, this is not predictive programming. This is not predictive programming. This is the truth in your face as a work of art. And sometimes you got to dig into some of these so-called works of art to really see the devil, because the devil is always going to be in a detail somewhere. So let me know. This was, I guess, this was more on a conspiracy side. I don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. If I'm not there, right? I don't even really want to be there at no CERN, seeing people practice incantations and summoning different things to empower their overlords. I don't want to be a part of anything like that. It's disgusting. But some people, they get their wealth and their fortune being a part of some things like this. So we just pray for everybody that they come to their senses. But anyways, is that all I have? Kanye out there just saying shit. That man is a demon. That man is a demon. And I feel like Kanye says things that are sensational at this point when he's about to drop something. I feel like we hear this sensational, crazy stuff from Kanye when he's about to drop, right? He'll just come out saying shit, right? And we know that he doesn't care for, white looking Jews, right? And I say white looking Jews because, and I guess because there are some black people that consider themselves Jews. I believe that blacks are more Hebrews. We don't practice Judaism. That Judaism is for white Jews. And that is their faith. And I believe that they can own the Jew title. And I don't think that black people should be trying to take the Jewish Jew title from white looking Jews. Please let them have it, right? Because we're not Jews. We are Hebrew descents. So they're not the same, right? And I think that people should be a little bit more clear on this. But, obviously, Kanye is coming from a very ignorant place when he is referring to our white looking Jewish, friends in the world. And he's just saying shit to clickbait, right? To cause sensational, to get attention. This is why his wife is running around half butt naked, right? This man needs attention. And so he's going to get the attention by shaming his wife, right? Having her running around like nude or half with the illusion of being naked, or he's going to be talking about the white Jewish people. So what can you do, right? I believe that people should be able to say whatever they want to say. It's up to the listener not to internalize. And that's what it is. If you already know somebody and how they are, right, when they just run around just saying shit for attention, right, you tend not to take them very seriously. And I'm glad that the Jewish community didn't just get into an uproar about ignorant ass Kanye, because I'm pretty sure they're like, is this even worth our energy? Like, I mean, do we even give a fuck that crazy dude sympathizes with Hitler and love Hitler? I mean, I think most reasonable, non-emotionally irrational Jewish people would just listen to what he says, do the whole cringe, nose turn up, and like, man, get the fuck on. And that's it. Like, they heard it and they unheard it, because that's how irrelevant Kanye's perspective on white Jews really is at this point. Because when you start trolling people, with some idea of truth, that is a demonic. So I think he gives even the black Hebrews a bad name. And I think that sometimes even some of the Hebrew Israelite brothers give the black Hebrews a bad name because they lack grace. They lack grace. They lack self-control. They lack the fruitages of God's Spirit. So I implore some of my brothers who identify as Hebrew Israelites. Um, you know, some of y'all need to mind your manner because I mean, if you know, because some of the projections do come off as hate group, right? And you don't want, individuals looking at a people who should be an example to other people in terms of self control and mildness, being a leader of not having self control and mildness. I'm not a part of any type of congregation at all. I am politically and spiritually neutral. I consider myself a disciple of Messiah, but I don't really jump on any designations, even though I do believe that Black Americans, among other Black looking people around the world, are the individuals that are being discussed in the Bible. We are the prophets, and the Bible is about us, not a Germanic type of people, Slavic type of people, descent people. Um, but I don't, try to shame people into, you know, identity theft and all that good jazz. Because again, when you think about King Solomon, in many degrees, he tainted the seed of David, right? There had to be this preservation aspect of Solomon's seed or David's seed because Solomon was tainting the bloodline of David, right? And that's just 100. Almost anybody can run around saying that they are Jew or descendant of Jew, unfortunately, because Solomon tainted the bloodline. He was spreading his seed all over the nations, right? So it's really about that remnant that God continues to isolate it throughout, the Old and New Testament. And unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but reality is that that remnant did not have white skin. So they can whitewash their own reality, their own history, but history is what it is. But I don't agree with, Black descendants. Um, I don't think that there's any value in us even calling out these people who say that they are what they are. It's not a point for us because we know that, you know, we know that the system is on a lifeline. And it's not really our mission to try to benefit from Satan's world at this point. We're trying to be sustainable people. We're trying to be in line with our God. Our Messiah tells us to pay Caesar's things to Caesar's and God's thing to God, meaning that Jesus never told us not to be law-abiding citizens, right? And so we pay our taxes, right? We do our part to be honest-hearted citizens, but we are no part of Satan's wicked world. And the ones who benefit in Satan's world are not the children of Israel, not the true descendants, or even those who are extended Gentiles on the olive branches. Those aren't the people ruling the world. Satan's chosen people are ruling the world. So I wouldn't be envying Satan's chosen people. Let them be how they want to be. They belong to their father, the devil, because they are from the synagogue of Satan. So we're not going to sit here and, I don't believe in shaming all individuals who say that they are Jews or the white looking Jews or whatever, because some of them are actually decent people. They don't belong to the synagogue of Satan, right? They're not on that foul, shady stuff that some of their other people are involved with. The ones who, sort of perpetuate the mindsets of anti-Semitism because of how they are. They're a victim of their own people, just like Black people. So anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. If Black Americans took control of their media, culture, art, the socioeconomic, athletic scaling would be more impressive than expected. Um, see, that whole mindset of black people taking control over their things, I think there lies the problem with many black people is they sell out too quick. They sell out too quick. They want to be somewhere way quicker than, you know, they could be if they just were patient, you know, get what you can and then keep working, striving to get to the next levels. A lot of our peoples will have great business models, doing very well, and the minute a private equity person who is not black comes in and dangles some money at us, then now all of a sudden the legacy is gone, short squeezed and owned by somebody else. So I think black people just need, like, because I think a lot of our people come from not owning shit. We don't know how to own shit. And I think that's kind of the first start in really understanding what ownership means, and not selling out your ownership or your legacy because somebody's dangling you an extravagant amount of money because they know long term they can make more off of your legacy than what they're putting on the table to you. But some people, they see dollar signs and that's all they think about. Like, oh, selling out legacies. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I think YouTube is censoring my content because they don't want people to talk about certain people, right? And again, it's like you could talk about black people all damn day in very negative ways. But the minute you start telling the truth, spitting the truth about other people, then all of a sudden you start getting censored. You said famous Amos cookies. Yeah, the minute you black people allow private equity firms to have any involvement in their business, that is when the business is going to go to shit. That's just the bottom line. Black people sell out their legacies way too much. They just do. You see a sister fighting her brother, right? I know a situation. Sisters fighting their brother to not sell the house that their father worked very, very hard in a very difficult time in the United States, right? He was able to build them a home in which they were able to grow up in, and that home stayed in their family. And now the parent is the father is gone, the house is left obviously to the kids. And, he wants to sell the house. She doesn't have enough money to buy his portion out on the house. So it's just a big mess. You have one kid who respects the family legacy, what was put in, what created the legacy, and you got one that's looking at the almighty dollar. So you look at a lot of those slaves back in the day, right? Some of them absolutely inherited property from their slave owners, in which the Torrance tax eventually short squeezed them out of it. But for those who actually did have functional plantations and still making money off of them, a lot of these people saw a banker or whoever came and was like, I will buy this land for some extravagant amount of money, right? And these people were like, all right, yeah, that's a lot. That's way more than it's worth. Are you sure? Yeah, yeah. Because they knew that they could flip that land into being way more than they've buy them out for. So we got to be smarter. We got to be smarter. A lot of our people, we lose legacy just because somebody smarter than us is able to pull the okey doke on us, right? So, Ghetto Planet, I see you, my friend. I enjoy your live stream. Very insightful, even when I don't agree with some of the stuff. It's okay. I always say if you agree with everything that I say, there's something wrong with you, because now you're just kind of giving lemming, right? You're just going along just with anything. It's like, no, I want people to challenge, some of the things that I say. I have my belief systems. I think that they're founded on logic and research. And so there's not a whole lot that's going to change my mind about many things, and that's just because I've done my research. I'm not listening to just other people. I'm doing my research, and a lot of my research is founded in the Bible, and even in the Bible, when you just look at some of these weird ass lands, that they're talking about, and you do a search of where this land is today, you're like, oh, that's modern day Ethiopia, or that's modern day Israel, right? Or what they say is Israel, right? Like the land of Canaan is actually modern Israel, right? And Sodom and Gomorrah was in the land of Canaan. So it was a little wicked space before God told the ancient Israelites, you got to purify the land of these wicked ass people. And I do think that we see a repeat of what's going on, even though, you know, Edomites are killing people that they say are Edomites. It's insane. The Edomites are killing the Edomites. It's insane. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Do your research. I like Famous Amos cookies too. Those were some good cookies. You know, you put them in the microwave for like 30 seconds. Those were some good chocolatey cookies. But great business model, like you said, Ghetto Planet, and got short squeezed by private equity. They will always come in with their slithering hands and make things shitty. They don't make things better. They're trying to make money. So they're going to have you cut costs on quality and everything, right? So that you can achieve a bottom line, you know, that they want you to achieve. You know, they are devils. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You said that you're trying to keep your family house in the family, but your siblings want to sell. Yeah, I mean, these people, you know, you sell a house, that's a quick lick. And that's a lick if you can sell it, right? At a decent market price, right? That's a lick, you know? And if you're talking about a house in a historical area, you can kind of sell off for like 300K. It's like, I'm pretty sure your siblings are like, just sell the house and let's get that 300K because we're trying to live, survive, do whatever we want to do, right? We need to plan better with the money that we get. We really do, Black people. We really do, right? Especially these lump sums. We got to do better. We got to strategize. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.